it's time for my 15 minutes of fame. First of all, I'm going to spend some 90 seconds or so to tell you a bit about myself and then the company. Basically, my mother is from Sweden, my father is from India. Actually, he's from Sindh in southern Pakistan. He was, like many other Hindus, kicked out of Pakistan in 1947. They're scattered all over the world. About Sindh, if you meet anybody with the last name with W, A, and I, they're most definitely from Sindh. If they have a last name ending with A and I, they could be Sindh. They could also be Punjabi. I was born in the Canary Islands. I was born in 1975. There was a dictator called Francisco Franco. He died in 1975, so my mother became scared that it was going to be a civil war. We moved to Sweden. I wanted to save the world, but I became an entrepreneur instead. And I think that's about it about me. So I have an MBA from Stockholm School of Economics. As you all know, that means mediocre but arrogant. I'm not a scientist. I used to be a management consultant. Fly in, talk a lot of shit, fly out. From idea to market. This is Alfonso Garcia-Benet. He is the founder of Nanologica. When he expected his first child, his wife was given vitamin B, folic acid. And being the science nerd he is, he became, well, this is a very interesting molecule. It self-assembles. So Alfonso has been in the science of porous materials, where we use surfactants. Surfactants also self-assemble. Sometimes you don't want to use them in bio applications, but folic acid. So he went into the lab, used folic acid instead, and created a porous material with a template of folic acid instead of surfactants. That's the start of Nanologica as a company. We are on the market now. We just announced last week that we're striking a major deal with a Russian company called Nanologica. So basically, in a couple of years' time, we've made from an invention, an idea, over patent to proof of concept and into the market. Into the market, in this case, does not mean that we have a product on the market to sell, but that we have paying customers and that we're on our way to the clinic. We're based in Stockholm, Sweden. However, when I started 1.5 years ago, I was the only native Swedish speaking, not being a Swede myself. Now we actually have three blonde, but one of them is not from Sweden. We have customers in the US, in Europe, in India, and in Russia, and in China. Obviously this is my team. René is here, Sana is here, Adam is on the Canary Islands on a holiday, seeking, not for my roots I hope. What we do is porous silica. In this case, nanoporous silica. So the nano is usually not the particles itself. It is the porous matrix. So these are SEM and TEM images. When you see it, it's a powder. It's basically silica, silicon dioxide. We call them particles because they're discrete and not agglomerated. If you look into a microscope, you can see this extremely regular pores. And that's something that is unique for mesoporous materials used by when you have a template. So basically what we do is that we have a template, or a surfactant, in our case folic acid. You condense silica around it, and then you burn away the surfactants under high temperature. Our particles is for oral use, is from micron and up, basically. When it comes to other applications, we do down to 20 nanometers. The pores are from 2 to 10 nanometers, but with a very sharp pore size distribution. That is, in this case, we have a 3 nanometer pore over here, and they're all 3, or in this case, 3.4 nanometers. Before I go into the applications, I just want to sum up the learnings both from my time at Nanologica and what I've heard here. So there are biotech companies. I think I'm the 10th company presentation that is talking about increased solubility. So there's one group of companies, players that have something, and there is a problem, I think, of poorly solubles. However, as we heard yesterday, it's sometimes very difficult to get that to work. So my first learning is that we need to acknowledge that both the big pharma or pharma companies and biotechs, that pharma companies are not basically one entity, it's several entities and needs to be treated as such. And also that we say this all the time, we need to be more innovative, and I heard Dr. Schröder in his opening speak, he said that we need to be more innovative, bring new things to the market. But, you know, we had this discussion yesterday with IC50 and BET. If you cannot admit that we come from different parts, so we want to combine different competencies, at least shorter so as well. However, if we're too afraid to admit that we don't know a completely different field, then how can we make a sort of a grounds for cooperation? So, what we're going to do now, before I get into the nitty-gritty of our technology, I would like you to consider this. So, there is a problem with poorly solubles, and we're many here trying to solve it. So, what I would like you to do, form groups of 4 and 4 basically. We're going to spend something like 5 minutes talking to each other, not listening to me, talking to each other about how can we make this better. So I've got 2 suggestions on sort of topics. One would be this sort of image that I showed before, and the other one would be the sharing of examples. So please form groups 4 by 4 and share examples. Okay?
Okay.
Execute.